In this video, I want to talk about virtual reality. So it's all the rage these days, and let's go ahead and get started. So, regular reality we're perceiving with our five senses. All right, you should have learned this in kindergarten. And this is a picture of the observable universe. Now, some people would argue that actually the reality we live in is already a virtual reality, but we won't get into that. We will only stick with the reality we live within, and within our reality, there's a technology called extended reality. Okay, so let me break this down. So one of the branches of extended reality is virtual reality. Now, virtual reality is obviously the topic of this video, and essentially what you're doing is creating a fake world. And you can see here there's a guy with a headset, and a fish goes by. It's a virtual fish in a virtual sea, if you will. Now, augmented reality is different in that you still have a digital fish there, but in this case, you're not in a digital world. You're still in the regular world you're in. It's essentially the easiest way to think about augmented reality is it's holograms. So you're bringing digital content into the real world. And if you ever physically interact with the digital content, whether it's virtual reality or augmented reality, that's an example of mixed reality. So the beginnings of this technology starts way back in the 1830s with something called the stereoscope, which actually allowed for 3D vision. So I want you to just take in the fact that, 200 years ago, almost 200 years ago, they were looking, they could see 3D 200 years ago. Blows my mind. And the way they did that is they had two separate images that were drawn from different angles, and each eye sees each image, and it gives the perception of depth, and it's an example of 3D vision. And so fast forward 100 years, you have things like the Viewmaster stereoscope in the mid 20th century, and you had all kinds of crazy stuff they were doing in virtual reality and augmented reality in the 50s, 60s, and all the way up till the 2000s. And it was in the mid 2010s, I'd say, that virtual reality really took off, and we're riding that wave right now. We have all kinds of virtual reality headsets available. Now, you're going to see a lot of headsets that use your smartphone, but I would highly advise to not even bother with these other than just to see what it looks like. But I wouldn't really invest in these headsets as a sort of end all be all virtual reality setup. I would go with the high end VR, whether it's a PS4 with a PlayStation virtual reality headset, or something like the HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift, one of those models hooked up to a high-powered PC. So it's going to run you about $2,000 at the end of the day. So it's an investment, but it's pretty cool. The technology is really early, and I think where we're headed is for standalone VR, where you don't have wires and you don't have computers and you don't have smartphones, any of that stuff. You have an all-in-one headset that you can pop on your face. All right, and they already have that with the Oculus Quest, but I think this technology is going to grow. So you might want to just hold out and wait to see what's coming. So the actual technology itself, it's sort of like a virtual reality headset is like headphones for your eyes. And there's two different ways that you're getting a virtual environment. So one of them is graphics. So you got a computer that's creating a graphic environment. And the other way is footage from a 360 camera. And obviously you can have a mixture of the two, but this one is pretty interesting, where if you have a 360 camera, a great way to view the 360 footage is with a VR headset. So usually what a high-end VR headset setup looks like is something like this, where you have a computer with a couple of sensors. Now, a good area or amount of space you should have is a 6 by 6 feet area. That's a good amount of room to use VR. And you have usually a wireless set of controllers, and of course your headset that are being tracked by the sensors, and it looks something like this. And it is tons of fun, especially when you're doing things like gaming, which is really big right now in the VR world. But there's a bunch of other uses. There's therapeutic uses, believe it or not. People are actually using virtual reality for things like exposure therapy. So if you're afraid of spiders, they'll throw you in like a pit of spiders, and apparently that's supposed to help you. I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently about it, but it's interesting. People use it for live events, so you could you could virtually attend concerts and things like that. And of course, educational purposes, where you could visit the pyramids of Giza, for example. Simulations, the military is going to get in on this, and even things like training pilots, VR could be really good for that. And of course, artistic reasons, where you could make virtual pottery using your hands, and I think that's super cool. Future of virtual reality, I think if you've seen Ready Player One, you know that haptics is coming, where you're going to actually be able to feel the virtual objects in the virtual worlds. I talked in the beginning about how we perceive the world with our 5 senses. Well, right now, virtual reality is just using 2 senses, essentially. Like you're getting 3D vision, and you're getting the the sound. So there's still 3 senses that we're not even using yet. So I think touch will be cool. And I think eventually we're going to actually smell the virtual worlds. I don't know if we're ever going to actually taste the virtual worlds, but who knows? I think that's some of the possibilities. And, Facebook bought Oculus, the company. That was back in 2014. And who knows what they're going to do as far as bringing virtual reality to the platform. But I think the communication possibilities for virtual reality, I think they have a lot of potential. And I think arcades are going to come back, where people are going to go to a designated building that has VR setups, and you'll be able to experience them. And I can't wait. So I want to thank you for watching this quick video on virtual reality. I hope it helped you understand some of the concepts, and I hope you have an awesome day.